welcome to a new episode of Let's Talk. This is our Health Pros Live version. My name is Dr. Mike Mills, and I get the honor and privilege of facilitating this call tonight with two amazing women and healthcare professionals. But we were just doing the math as we were coming on here. We have 100 years worth of experience to share with you. That is crazy. And we're all in blue tonight. It is blue night. We had no idea it was going to be blue night, but it was the energy of the day, I guess. So, um, welcome, ladies. I am honored to get to do this with you. We have Claire Stoll, who has been a physical therapist for 25 years and has specialized with aging individuals and muscle and bone health. And Dr. Susan Debon, who's been a family physician for 50 years. And I was just saying, what a testament to the habits of health you are. I mean, wow, just your energy every time I've been around you, so vibrant and that smile. So this is what the Habits of Health has to offer, and we are really excited for you guys to all join us tonight. We were all at a conference recently over the weekend, and some amazing and exciting news. We have a rich scientific background. You know, I don't even know at this point in time, but at least 20,000 physicians and healthcare providers have endorsed, supported, become coaches within our network. And Optavia recently just created the Medifast Metabolic Health Institute and has added a couple amazing, literally world-class metabolic health physicians to our network of healthcare professionals that support, endorse, and recommend what we do, because what Dr. Anderson created was a true holistic system that guides us. So, welcome. Great to see you guys. And I'm just excited for everybody to kind of join in on this conversation. But one of the things that we do on this Health Pros Live edition is we give you an opportunity to go into the chat and ask some questions. And tonight's focus is really going to be geared toward how metabolic health relates to muscle health, bone health, just our physical activity. All of those things, I think, are more profound than maybe we realize sometimes. But Susan, we have been talking about metabolic health and metabolic dysfunction for a long time, but yet I think sometimes we don't clearly have a definition of what is metabolic dysfunction.
Well, I'm really glad you asked that because it relates to when I started my practice 50 years ago. I was starry-eyed. I was going to create health. And then I started practicing and I realized they didn't teach me that in medical school. And I was very disillusioned. I tried to help, but I didn't have the tools. I didn't have what we have today. And we are so lucky that we have this. Um, so I pretty much tried my thing. I sent them to places for help, but we know that doesn't work because diets don't work. And so ultimately, I became a pill pusher. And then one day, my husband said to me, "Hey, there's this coaching thing. This would be really good for your patients." And I said to him, "Don't talk to me. Nothing works." And fortunately, he didn't listen to me. And then when I heard what this was, I'm like, that's it. That's the answer. And so I brought it to my patients and I was absolutely blown away. And for me, I saw 15 years ago the changes that can happen by living a healthy lifestyle. But I find that people don't know what metabolic health is. They really don't know. Even fellow coaches, I brought that question up myself, and people weren't quite sure. So I'm going to share with you 5 parameters of what constitutes metabolic dysfunction. Because, like you tonight, I want you to look at yourself. I want you to go ask your doctor if you don't have these answers and find out. Because 9 out of 10 Americans have metabolic dysfunction. That's horrible. That means like probably there's only a few people on this Zoom that are, although I think we're a pretty healthy group. So I'm going to correct that. But in general, if you look at America, now here's the other scary statistic. 9 out of 10 of the leading causes of death are related to metabolic dysfunction. So we better know what it is, and we better know what our status is. So number one, increased visceral fat. Now, that's not the fat on our arms and the fat on our thighs and the fat on our buttocks. Not at all. It's the fat inside, around our organs and within our organs. But you go, well, I can't see inside my body. How can I know if I have it? Well, anybody have a smart scale? It actually will tell you what your visceral fat is. But I'm going to give you an even easier way. Get your tape measure out, measure your waist circumference. For men, if your waist circumference is greater than 40 inches, that's increased visceral fat, metabolic dysfunction. Women, 35 inches. Simple to do, simple to find out. Now, some of the other things may not be as simple, but blood pressure, most of you have had somebody tell you what your blood pressure is. That's number two, metabolic dysfunction. It's now 130 over 85. Now, that's not a single number, but if that's what your blood pressure is running, that's metabolic dysfunction. Cholesterol. Now, there's two parameters in cholesterol for metabolic dysfunction. When I first was learning was back when people didn't even know what cholesterol was, and we were focusing on the total number and then the LDL. Actually, metabolic dysfunction is HDL. H, I go happy. You want it to be high, okay? If you have a low HDL, for men, less than 40, women less than 50, metabolic dysfunction. Triglycerides, those are the fats in the blood. Now they're kind of taking the trip with the cholesterol and a lipoprotein. A high triglyceride increases your risk, and that's metabolic dysfunction. Greater than 150 for a fasting triglyceride. Now, if you go take your triglycerides non-fasting, you're going to have a panic attack. Make sure that it's fasting. And then the final one, and really such an important one, is your fasting blood sugar. Greater than 100 is metabolic dysfunction. And probably your doctor has mentioned a hemoglobin A1C or called it A1C, but a lot of people aren't even sure what that is. If you're greater than 5.7, you're already pre-diabetic. If you're greater than 6.5, you have diabetes. Those 5 parameters, make sure you know them. That's metabolic dysfunction, and it increases your risk for early death.
That's so helpful, Susan. Thank you so much for sharing that. And one other area that to when we talk about metabolic dysfunction, remember that's any one of those five. If you
Mhm.
have three of those five, you have something called metabolic syndrome, which is a more serious situation, right? So that's so helpful, wonderful. Well, Claire, you've been practicing in the realm of physical therapy and helping people in that area for a long time now, but so how does this relate and impact someone's muscle or bone skeletal health?
hmm So, what she was describing, and when you think about what a healthy metabolism is, it's your body's ability to really use what you consume, the nutrients, efficiently. And when you have all those parameters you described as dysfunctional, your body is not able to absorb nutrients. If you are unable to absorb nutrients well, your muscles and your bones will decline as you age. And it's kind of silent. You don't see it at first, but it's happening underneath. And what also occurs, and a lot of people think bones are static. They're my bones.
Mhm.
But bones are dynamic. They're a master communicator in your body that helps with your brain health, your movement, and just your overall metabolism. Signals are being sent. In fact, did you know that your skeleton's being replaced every 10 years? You're a chiropractor, so you probably have understood this. So, how you load your bones and how you nourish your body will determine what that skeleton, continues, how strong your bones will be. And so, and I was startled in my business as a physical therapist, I never have a lack of clients. 1 out of 2 women will have a fracture because of low bone density. And 70% of hip fractures are women. If you have a hip fracture, 30% of them are going to die within a year. And 50% of the surviving won't even return home to the place where they raised their family, to their prior level. So when I started as a physical therapist in my practice, I was very determined to get this message out. So Dr. Devin and I used to present to her patients to community events about metabolic health through the bones and the muscles. And so I've come full circle because when Dr. Devin was using this Optavia program in her practice, I saw the difference and she inspired me. And that's why I became a coach. So thank you, Dr. Devin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing I want to say is if you have strong habits, resistance, nutrition, you will build strong bones. If you have weak habits, that will lead to really weak bones, and that will affect your longevity and how much you enjoy living your life.
Yeah. That is so great, Claire. And I'm so glad that you brought that up because I do think there's a tendency to think of a bone as something that's not alive, right? It's not a living tissue in your body. And I think we've had the tendency to do the same thing with fat, is think that, especially visceral fat is, we think of it like, something on the edge of a steak that we cut off. A bone, we think of a skeleton that we see and can hold in our hand. But when they're in our body right now, they are living tissues, right, that are communicated and affecting the organs of our body. So we have a few different questions. I wanted to, Dr. Debin, we can come to you with this one. The one question is, if using a lingo, or let's just say a CGM, continuous glucose monitor. That's what that means. So if you're here and you're saying, what's a lingo, or what's a Stella, or what is a continuous glucose monitor? They are a monitor that you can wear that attaches to an app in your phone and gives you live data. But using a lingo to assess the impact of nutrition, glucose, and exercise, what is the best way to use it with the data received? So what I'm hearing that question say is, how do I bring value to this information I'm receiving?
That's actually an excellent question because if you just took the information I said, fasting blood sugar 100, and then you're doing continuous monitoring, when you eat, yes, your blood sugar is going to rise some. And so you'll want to see, okay, 2 hours after I've eaten, has it come back down? And when you're continuously monitoring that, you're going to see with our kind of plan, that blood sugar is a nice even level. It doesn't spike and crash and spike and crash. So totally valuable. I have clients who are not diabetic who use it so that they can understand what's happening when they eat something. And I had a patient who was like in her kind of maintenance phase and was like kind of struggling maintaining. She was within 5 pounds, but she was like, why am I going up and down? And we were looking, she was using a lot of high glycemic fruit. So I had her get her book out, look at Dr. A's 2.5, in the part 2.5 in your Habits of Health book. He gives the glycemic index, and she was doing bananas and grapes. And so I just showed her, let's try some of these lower glycemic index. And when you do a continuous monitor, you can do that.
Yeah, that's so valuable. Claire, anything you would like to add to that from your perspective?
Oh yeah, I've seen that, and that affects actually your bones can affect and send signals to your insulin, work with your pancreas, and so that's really interesting that you said that. And I do recommend all my clients use the continuous glucose monitor, especially when they go from the reset phase to the renew and the refine.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. Such great information, guys. And, one of the things, so a glucose monitor measures the glucose. It's not directly measuring insulin,
Mhm.
right? So one of the things that can happen is insulin can be going higher and higher and higher and higher. and your blood sugar is just staying the same, right? Because that's what the body's going to do. It's going to keep taking the insulin higher and higher and higher to keep the blood sugar the same. So, my point in sharing that is sometimes insulin can be running super high, even though the blood sugar is looking normal. How does that impact you? When insulin's high, you can't burn fat. So many people are stuck because they look at their sugar and they say, well, it's still within the normal range, but yet their body, because of their nutrition and their lifestyle, their body is producing tons of insulin to make that happen. And that high insulin is blocking fat loss. And that's why so many people can be stuck. So, another question that we have in here, Claire, I'll start with you on this one. But it's talking about the language of being in and out of fat burn. And so this person has a question of what does that mean? They were saying, isn't it more like a continuum? Um, they're saying they think of like keto strips, and measuring ketosis in a range, but we know what we're doing is slightly different. So when we're using that language of in and out of fat burn, maybe you can help bring some clarity to that?
Yes, so when you're following the optimal 5 and 1 and the metabolic flip plan, you have just the right balance of nutrients to sustain and to be really healthy. And then your body will efficiently burn the fat. Now, the mechanics, I don't know, Susan, if you want to step in on the mechanics of fat burn and how that works within the body, but to go in and out of fat burn. So when you step out of that balance that we have, you introduce some sort of a food item that has a higher carb level that takes you out of that balance, your body will be pulled out of fat burn and your body will actually kind of pull in some water with it, and that process of the glycogen. So I don't know, Susan, if you want to explain that a little bit better with fat burn, but
But
you go in
I
and out
think,
of it.
yeah, I think what Mike said is exactly it. You do go in and out of fat burn, but your insulin's going to go up and up and up. And that's not about in and out. It's rising, it's rising, it's rising. So our goal is not to flip in and out of fat burn,
Mhm,
because then our insulin will stay even. And if you're unsure about that, your doctor can check your insulin level.
mhm.
It's actually another way to look at, hey, could that be what's going on here? Why I'm not losing?
Yeah, that's so good. So, what I heard both of you say, and it is so true, is there's a threshold to allowing our body to stay in a space where we're burning fat for fuel, right?
Mhm.
And anytime we do something to elevate our insulin level, we are going to stop fat burning because when insulin is high, we can't burn fat, right? So, okay, another question here that I wanted to reference is wow. So she was saying she's 77 years old. Um, she still needs to lose about 45 pounds, but she's gone from 395 to 186, 188. So pretty amazing results already. Congratulations. Um, yes, that deserves fireworks. Um, but the last 2 months, the pounds have been fluctuating up and down a little bit, but hasn't been seeing as consistent changes. Her bone and muscle mass is 57% of her total body weight. Um, what can she do to kickstart? So she's saying, what can I do to enhance the process and speed results? So you guys can, whoever, you
Oh,
can
I'd love
fill
to
that
talk
as you
about
want.
that. We both can talk a little bit on that point because Dr. Devins had quite a journey as well. But ultimately, have you introduced some resistance training? Have you been working, adding a load and a substantial load? Your body, your bones, your muscles need a substantial load to create muscle. Are you using essential amino acids that will turn on the switch so that beautiful plan that you're using to lose that weight, is it efficiently converting some of the protein into muscle? And so if you build your muscles through those things, through nutrition and through adding a load, then you're body, your muscles are an engine. They will help you more efficiently burn. So that's what I would recommend. Also consult with your coach, do some journaling and make sure you're really following it to a T. Maybe you need to switch it up a little bit. Anything on that, Susan?
Absolutely perfect answer. Number one is you want to build muscle because muscle is going to burn, right? So, and it will give you the energy. The other thing is I'm 81 and I am still in my journey. I will be in my journey forever. It's not I'm on or I'm off. It's a journey. And you will have times when it may slow down. But most of the time, when I see my clients do that, just what Claire said, do a journal, be a detective, have your coach help you be a detective to see what am I doing differently. That client that I had that was doing the high glycemic fruit, she was in her optimization, but she was doing a lot of high glycemic things. So your coach, I think, will help you identify where the kind of stuck is, and it'll get you back kind of where you want to be. You're doing fabulous. Just keep going.
Yeah, that's great. I was just looking at that. So, you're talking about losing a couple 100 pounds here. Okay. So another part of this, and this is why I love us just getting to have conversations like this because they're so powerful. But imagine if I woke up every day and strapped 200 pounds on me and walked around. How many calories would it take my body to do that? Way more, right? So what sometimes I think we can miss is that once 200 pounds comes off of your body is just not burning as many calories to exist as it once did. It's not carrying around 200 pounds, right? And so the specificity of what we're doing actually needs to enhance and improve the closer and closer we get to our goal. And at this point, activating muscle is just so, so important. So, yes, I think that would be great. Obviously, you have your specific coach, and I would plug in there. But, activating this skeletal muscle is going to be an amazing part of your journey at this point. So, Claire, this question really I thought would connect with you, but Mary is saying that she has been bedridden for almost 6.5 years, waiting on surgery to fix some fractured leg. She's lost 210 pounds. Wow, guys. This is a couple people on here tonight that have lost over 200 pounds, and she's got about 50 more to go. But she's concerned about her legs, that they won't be able to come back as she, gets the surgery, becomes more mobile again. And how does her bone health in this condition go with her metabolic health? And she wants to thrive outside of a nursing home. So, what kind of advice could you share?
Okay, so Mary, and for anyone else might be dealing with an injury, if one area is injured, you have other extremities that you can be moving. There's something called radiation. So if when I have a leg injury, I personally make sure I do a lot of arm work and a little bit core and the opposite leg because it does contract neurologically, and you know this, Mike, too. The whole muscle is connected. And so you definitely should be doing really great arm workout, neck, postural stuff in your bed, edge of bed, anything you can do. Sitting up, getting out of bed is important, even if it's just sitting. Range of motion is one thing, but adding a load, adding resistance is what's going to build your muscles. And as soon as you can get that surgery, yes, you can start putting pressure on that and doing that side, but work out the other extremities as much as you can and work with the physical therapist in the nursing home.
Yeah, that's so powerful. I love that. Dr. Debon, you want to add anything to that?
And just what she's saying, everything when you have been inactive, low and slow to start with. You know, don't go gangbusters, but take it slow, little steps at a time. Even just the raising of the arm might be difficult at first, and you don't do 100 of them, you may do 10. And then a few days later, you up it and you up it. I kind of look at like up at 10%, up at 10%. Pretty soon, whatever it is, you're doing a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this relates to a lot of people. So Mary has her situation, but how many of us have tweaked a hip or had an ankle injury and thought, oh, I better rest. That is not the solution. You can rest that movement, but you want to keep moving. Movement is life. And if you're not moving, you're not going to develop strength. So do an analysis with a local physical therapist to identify what happened with that movement, or a local chiropractor, but you want to move the other joints so you can develop strength in your life. And without strength, you cannot move and you can't enjoy life.
That's so great. Movement is life. That's so beautiful. Motion is like lotion, I always say. But in to Claire's point too, one of the areas we learned a lot about this was in stroke patients, where a side of their body they weren't able to use one side of their body. And what we found is there was a massive crossover effect, that we could exercise the good side and we were getting a lot of benefit on the side that they couldn't move, right? So those are all things that we can implement. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. I know we always feel like there's more questions, and that's why we do this every month, because there are more questions and we're excited for that. So there's a short video I want to roll for you right now, related to our national convention. We are going to be having our national convention in July in Orlando, Florida, and you all are invited, right? This is open to clients, it's open to coaches, and we're all part of this mission and this movement in one way or another, right? Some people are referral partners, right? There's 232 million Americans minimally suffering with metabolic dysfunction, right? It's going to take all of us, every client, every coach, working together in collaboration. We always say we're all on this mission together. You can partner with us in a couple ways. You can become an advocate, an ambassador, and refer to your coach. And the beautiful thing is you receive a $50 wellness credit on your next order for doing that, or you can join the mission, right? I know this call is called Health Pros Live, but most health coaches are clients that had amazing success, transformed their lives, and wanted to share this with other people. So I'm excited for Chris to roll this video for you, just to share in the excitement of National Convention and to give you an opportunity to join us. So next week, we will be back with another episode of Let's Talk, and it's a special day. It is May the 4th Be With You Day. And so we are going to be talking about Beyond the Reset. So make sure you come back next week and join us for that. Remember, as always, these are posted on our YouTube channel. They are on Spotify. So feel free to plug into those. Share them with friends and family, and we hope that many of you decide to join us at convention this year and back here for Let's Talk next week. Have a great night.